Gurmagud, Lescan Corla, and I won't hold you too long. I welcome the opportunity in speaking on the bill. The first thing is for pensioners and for people in social welfare, I welcome the increases. That's the first thing I think that needs to be said. There are things that just worry us in the line of, as every deputy is aware, right around this country, there are people that might have worked years ago for a few years and put up a few stamps and may have not been putting up stamps and then got back into work later on, and when they go for their pension they basically are cut because it's averaged out over the number of years, and it is a problem for them. And I think that this needs addressing, because I know there was a scheme brought in, rightly so, where I know in the farming communities, if you paid for the last 10 years, you could get that pension. And I think we need to address that anomaly that's there, and especially, I know it may be the other bill that will be coming in for this, women around this country that had to give up work and when they were having children, and minded them at home, and instead of being rewarded for the service and what they've done for their country, they are being penalised now, which I think is absolutely disgraceful. And I think that, and I know that the government has, there's a bill coming in relation to it, but I hope it isn't just tightened up and left in a way that it's basically impossible to get to. As Deputy O'Keefe pointed out early on, when you talk about employing people, 0.9% of people don't bring in job path to try and suss out someone in a local area that's fit to do a job and employ them, because that's not the way it works in the what I would call the SME sector, small businesses right around the country, because a lot of them wouldn't be even registered with the likes of the welfare department to get this. As has been previously pointed out, there is a major problem, and a year ago, we're coming near it again, this Christmas it's coming. I remember speaking to the Minister that we cannot push a price. It is great that our tourism figures are gone up. It is great that the numbers of people coming into this country is rising. But let me put it clearly on the record that if we don't tackle a problem that's happening right around this country, and especially in the rural areas, in the CE schemes, in the 2 schemes, of not having people in the tidy towns to do work. We talked about sports facilities, but the amount of work that's done in tidy towns right around this country, and if we just think for a second, tourists drive around Ireland and they look at our towns, and it is a sad thing to say that at the moment, Deputy O'Keefe said we had 100,000 long-term unemployed. And it is a sad damnation on the department that there are tidy towns, villages, committees that have to pay people now to do the work because Joe or Mary or Tom or Pat don't qualify, be it their year was up or for whatever reason. And that shouldn't be allowed. I'm a firm believer that if someone is unemployed for their own mental health, for feeling to be involved in a community, I'm a firm believer for the 20 euro or whatever they get a week, that they would be better out doing something than within a house. And yeah, it would cost more because you'd need a few supervisors or whatever. But if if we the payback to our country in all those areas right across Ireland, and be it a city, be it a town, or be it a small village in a rural area, we are gaining from what's been achieved right around the country. And it is good that people are getting more work. There is no one criticising that. It is good that the economy is picking up. But with that comes situations like we are dealing with now, whereas 5 or 6 years ago you would have plenty of people for CE schemes or FOSS schemes, and now the criteria is beating us. And be it that at the moment, if you happen somebody and you make an application that I have Joe, that's a great fella, or Mary, that we want to keep them on, no, they don't qualify. And if it's one thing we've done, it would help so many people around the country. But on top of that, for the well-being of those people to be out talking to someone, doing a bit of work, in my opinion, like, it's absolutely crazy that we don't give that opportunity to those people. And I would ask, if that was the only thing that we looked at in the next few weeks, I would ask ministers to do that, because there are, especially rural small villages, crying out trying to keep their villages in good nick, and voluntary, these people, and they cannot get someone on the seas. The RSS has been a massive success in the line of a scheme. I think we need more people on it, because what it does, it keeps a lot of family farms viable in rural areas, and a lot of work done. In social welfare, there is one part of it that I can never understand. If somebody was working, and I've seen them, they may be working in Dublin or any other part of the country, and for the love of their mothers or their fathers, if they got sick, they would go home to help them and care for them. And if their husband is on X amount, or on the income thresholds, and they look for it, to look for carers to mind their loved one. And by the way, save the state probably €800 a week, even though it cannot see that. If they were in a nursing home, it would actually cost that. And they will be refused carers, which is absolutely, in my opinion, if you show that you're giving up something, I cannot understand for the life of me how someone would refuse them when you're saving money. Because if they decide, well, sure, we'll bring them to Dublin and there's a nursing home here, what's the figure then? Probably 12 or 1400. And I just cannot understand why we're doing stuff like that. There is a need to make sure that self-employed as well, because self-employed people, if they get sick, or generally, we've seen it down through the years, if you had an employee that qualified for, and rightly so, but the self-employed person would have to go through the rigours of everything to try and basically keep food on the table. And I think we need to respect those people that are self-employed. I welcome in the budget that for those self-employed people in the tax that we're starting to move another bit in the line of balancing it. I know it's gone up, I think it's €230, and I think one more round we might get it level up for the tax credit on the 1650, which is welcome in it. But we do need to make sure that for those people that take risks, that if something goes wrong, that there's a backup plan. So to conclude, I'm not going to hold you all night, Minister. I know John Paul Phelan is looking to get in. And to conclude, I would ask you to look at those CE schemes and the CE schemes and the two schemes, because it's crucial. You are going to see a backfiring from this, because there'll be towns around the country that will go down in how well they're being done at the moment, and you will end up that Ireland, we're relying a lot on tourism, especially in the west of Ireland, and we don't want to have someone saying, well, it was dirty, or there was papers, or this wasn't done, or the flowers weren't done, and the amount of work that's done, and what I cannot fathom is that it doesn't cost an awful lot extra. And let's look at ways of making sure that it's efficient the way it's done. But I do think that people that are unemployed, there should be a system there that they are given that facility, and what it does for them as well down the road is a help. Gurmagat.